Hiya, it's me again. I've just moved into another room. The lighting might be a bit iffy in this room, but hopefully I won't get cut off and my connection will be a bit better. Like I was starting to say on the other one, same old blurb, please like and share. Let me know if you're here. You can comment. There might be a bit of a delay, but it's nice to know if I'm actually talking to anybody. So yeah, tonight's the final sort of pulling together of the ages and stages. So I'll be looking at 6 to 12 years old and 12 to 18, and then what happens after that. Sari's just put my reception is rubbish, but I'm here. Oh, bless her. Thank you. I think mine's rubbish as well, but never mind. So before I start, really, I just wanted to kind of just say something about the last two might actually hook something for you. And when I say hook something for you, it's I'm just going to shut this door. It might start you thinking about maybe your upbringing and if there were any gaps in the way that you were parented, and also you might be reflecting on, if you've got older children, how they were at certain ages. I just wanted to mention that the Parent Plus is a support group. Me and Sari are both psychotherapists and we both run a private practice, but this is not therapy. So if it does hook anything for you, if it brings anything up, if you find yourself overthinking or maybe getting upset, get in touch with us. Like I said, it's not therapy, but we can signpost you in the right direction if you feel that you need any extra support more than what we're providing in the group. So I just thought it was important to mention that as we're coming to the end of the ages and stages. I did post the ages and stages in the files in the private group. So that's there for you to have a look at, and it does tell you the different ages where you might be recycling things. So I think that's it. If there's anything you want to ask or any comments, feel free to just pop them in at the bottom or after we finish this video and we'll get back to you. Another thing, just, you know, if there is anything else that you want us to cover, if there's anything that you're struggling with at the moment or anything that interests you, just let us know. We'd love some feedback on the memes that we post, the information, anything really, just so that we know that we're targeting, you know, what we need to be targeting, and if we're missing anything, then please let us know, and hopefully we can rectify that. So, going on to the stage 5, which is 6 to 12 years, this is kind of the final one, and then after this one, we start to recycle the same ones over and over again. So, 6 to 12 years is, I always say this, it's a really good period. I think I've said that about all of them. It's when we're starting to acquire skills and tools and the values that we need to get by in the world. We learn how to perceive the world in a structured way, and I think between the ages of 6 and 12 is when children really need structure in quite a consistent way, if that makes sense. Up until the ages of 6, kids can be quite flexible with what they need, because the way that their minds work isn't quite as forward thinking as it is between the ages of 6 and 12, if that makes sense. So as far as parenting, having consistent boundaries at this particular age is really quite important, because one of the things that children are doing is they're starting to understand the need for rules in society, in school, even in the peer groups and with the friends. There's always the cocky ones. They know what place that they are in, and there's kind of unwritten rules within each group that your children's in. So they've kind of got family rules. There might be neighbourhood rules, what they can do in the village, what they can't do. There's cultural rules. There's lots of rules that they're starting to be more aware of between the ages of 6 and 12. So the fact that within the family they need consistency in those rules. It's not to say that you need to be a really stern parent, and we're always up for negotiating, especially as they're coming up to the sort of 12 year at the other end of it. So it's just worth being mindful. They need things to be in a coherent way so that they can make sense of it. because this stage is all about skills and structure. So they're learning the skills that they need to be out in the big wide world, but they also need and like the structure around it, even though they might argue and they might buck against it. They are all important and good though. Yes, I agree, Sari. They all are good and important. So the other thing that they learn about rules is that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because having rules allows them a certain amount of freedom. And when I say that, it's kind of like if they know where the line in the sand is drawn, then they know when they cross it that there's maybe a consequence to it, but that gives them freedom on the other end. So if there's a very clear line, a distinction drawn for them, then rules also provide them with lots of safe freedom on what they can do within those family rules. So again, it's really quite important that as a family you sit down and you discuss the rules, what's up for negotiation, what's not, whereabouts you are. I call them kind of marshmallow parenting, where it's dependent on what time of day it is or the time of the month, one of those sort of things, that sometimes we don't always stick to those rules. But as a general rule, it's important that you have, a basic rule in your family. One of the things, again, that I wanted to just touch on was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not sure if you can actually see this, but I will post this in the group as well, because it links in really quite nicely with things. Because at this age, what children tend to do is to observe behaviours of others. If you remember on the previous ones, it was all about learning who they are in the world. And in this next section, what they tend to do is they migrate towards people that reinforce. Hi, Shauna! It reinforces the decision about who they've decided they are. So if they've decided that they're going to be the class clown or the cool kid in school, they're going to migrate towards people that reinforce that for them. If they've decided that they're going to be the studious one, that does everything that they're told and doesn't say boo to a goose, they're going to kind of migrate towards those sort of people, because that's reinforcing the decision that they've made about themselves. They also are really good if the decisions that they've made are being criticised or not agreed with somebody. You might find that in that sort of 6 to 12-year-old, there's lots of arguing and hassling, and they move in and out of friends because certain friends reinforce the decisions that they've made and other friends might not. So there might be lots of falling out and major drama and catastrophes around some of the friends at school, which again, it's perfectly normal and they will work through it. But they'll find themselves gravitating towards certain people as opposed to other ones. So there might be lots of arguing and things like that. They want to do it their way. They don't necessarily want to change their opinions because they've made this decision that this is who they are. So, like I said, friendships might move. This is a time as well, again, because it's all about skills. It's about learning that it's okay to make mistakes. It could be that your child is a perfectionist, that they need to get everything right and that they don't like making mistakes. Because children tend to be one or the other. Lots of things in therapy and psychotherapy are, you think you've just got it sorted at this end, and then it's kind of like, yeah, but they can do this as well. So some children find it okay to make mistakes because they learn from them. Other children might find that it's the end of the world if it's not perfect. And if they make a mistake, it means that they're not perfect, so therefore... Sarah's just tell me about it. I'm not sure which bit that was that I told you about, but never mind. You also find at this age that they need to be part of a group. It's really important, and I think that's why I mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because one of the things with that is that they need to belong. It's not that they want to belong, it's that they need to belong. It's an innate need in us as human beings that we need to belong to certain things. Sorry, I'm just trying to read a comment here. Sean has just put, what if you don't, and their friends are not good for them? Again, a lot of this is phases. Like I said, it's not an A to B. There's cycles to it, and children will find their feet. Unfortunately, if you've got a child that has a lot of time off school, it might be through illness or something, the friends tend to move on. So it's really important that you can get them involved in a group of some description. It could be an after-school activity, it could be brownies, it could be scouts, all sorts of things. It's about belonging and being part of a group, particularly with like-minded people at this age. And hopefully it's a good group as opposed to the maybe not so good group. But that's where the parenting and the consistency comes into it. So what I was saying about being part of a group, as a foster carer, it was really important to a lot of the foster kids that I had, that they belonged to something. If they didn't feel like they belonged in the family group, and obviously if the placement had broken down or they'd had to be took away from parents, they had a sense of not belonging anywhere. So a lot of these children would migrate to groups. I think, you know, looking at it to its worst case scenario is children will start to get in with a bad group. You know, they decide whether they're going to be a mosher or they're going to be a rocker. No, that's showing my age now, isn't it? Mods and rockers. I don't even know what they are now. An emo or something. Emo? Yeah. They'll want to be part of a group. And if the family unit isn't a strong unit, it's even more important for them to connect with a group of some description. The other thing, as they're moving up towards the 12-year-old age, it's 11 and 12 is a transition period when they're moving up to high school, which again, you know, my son's 11, he's just about to finish primary school and he's moving up to secondary school. He's part of a brass band. The age range from there is sort of 60 plus down to 8. It's a real mixed bag. He's moving from being a big fish in a little pond to being a little fish in a big pond. So he's going to start recycling a lot of the early doing and being phase, which again is quite normal. So they might go back to an earlier stage. I think another thing that's worth mentioning is if there's any illness, if your children are hospitalised for something, it's quite normal for them to revert back to a much earlier stage. With the learning, with the thinking, the behaviour, lots of things. I don't know if you've experienced it, but I know when Kai's ill, he likes curling up on a blanket and just being snuggled and loved and taken care of. Even as an adult, if I don't feel well, that's what I want. So at different times in your life and when there's different life events, you will find yourself going back into some of these cycles. So that's the 6 to 12 year age. If there's anything else that you want to ask, you can post away. Sari's just put, it's all good experience for them anyway, learning to develop social skills. It certainly is. I'm presuming you're talking about moving in and out of friendship groups and things, which again is perfectly normal. So this kind of last bit is the recycling of everything. It's what we call integration, and it's literally where they're going back right to the doing and being and thinking stages, right at the very beginning, and going over them again. I've written this bit down just so I make sure that I'm getting it right. Sari's picking me up on everything tonight. There's no such thing as good or bad groups. They're just challenging. Yes. Yes. Some are better than others. I don't know whether that's her that's just done the thumbs up either. So when we're doing the last stage, which is the 12 to 18, like I said, it's kind of recycling everything at double the speed. It's took us 12 years to get to where we are now, and we recycle them all in 6 years. So it's kind of double, which is what I was saying before about sometimes people don't like working with teenagers because they don't know what's walking in through the door. But personally, I like it, because they do tend to swing from one to the other. They can be quite adult and mature 1 minute, and then they go back to being a toddler, sort of having tantrums and blowing off at the drop of a hat. So I've kind of linked in the ages with the stages with this. So we're looking at 12 to 18. So if your child, you've got a 13-year-old, they've gone right back to the being stage. And that being stage, if you remember, is all about it's okay to be here. It's okay for you to get your needs met, and it's okay for you to be cared for. And like I said, they will swing from very adult behaviour to quite childlike behaviour. Then we move on to sort of the 14-year-olds. These are all sort of vague outlines that, again, you know, I'm basing this on Pamela Levin's Cycles of Power. This is the doing. 14-year-olds, as well as the 13, 14-year-olds, puberty setting in. You might find girls reach this sooner than boys. But as well as having all the testosterone and the puberty kicking in, they've also got this pendulum swinging from being adult to being a child again. So it's quite a hectic time for a lot of children. So at 14, they've got intense curiosity about the surroundings. If you remember, we were talking about this age where they're starting to crawl and they're starting to explore and things. It's a similar time, but obviously it's a 14-year-old that's going through it. They need to, you might find that suddenly they can't sit still. In class, you might get letters coming home from school where they're lacking concentration and things. They need to be up and about, and sometimes this is the age where children need physical activities in lessons to actually keep them engaged, because just sitting and being talked at isn't what they need right now. It's when they're younger and they're in the doing stage that they're learning to trust people. And again, that's the same thing. You might find that your 14-year-old is pushing you away. They're really challenging, angry. They're doing everything they can in your mind to make you not like them. And again, this is a time as a parent where we need to be consistent. We need to let them know that we're not going anywhere. We're still going to be here. So you can push and kick the boundaries as much as you want, but I'm going to be steadfast. I'm here. So when you're ready, you can come back in and nothing will have changed. And I think that's really important for some teenagers. It's a really tricky age. They're testing everything, as well as puberty kicking in. They could be angry. They might be sad. They might want to live in the bedroom all the time and not come out. So there's lots of things as a parent that you've got that are going to be quite tricky for you to handle. And I think that's why I was saying earlier on that it might remind you of certain times in your life. So it's important that you get support as well if you've got teenage children. So from that we go on to 15-year-olds, and that's about thinking, learning about being independent, learning that being individual and separating out. That thinking stage is the three-year-old where they're starting to learn about going out into the world and things like that, starting nursery, wanting to separate and to be individual, but knowing that you're still going to be there for them. 15-year-olds, you might find that they've got a mighty chip on the shoulder. They feel angry about everything, and they go through that phase where they want to establish what's theirs. They might start to want increased privacy, not wanting to talk to you about things. It's kind of like what's mine's mine and what's yours, and there's a division, and I don't want you to encroach on me. So again, it's really important that as parents we don't take it personally. We take it on the chin. We learn to pick our battles. Hi, Marianne. Has Marianne clocked on? We learn to pick our battles. Let the things go that we don't think are important, and focus on the main things. A lot of it is about communicating. Keep the lines of communication open, even when it's pretty tough. Again, let them know that you're not going anywhere. You're still going to be there when, you know, they get to the other side, which they will do. We all get through teenage years. One of the helpful things that maybe you can do if you have got a teenager going through these sort of things is to look back at what you were doing when you were at their age. I think as a parent, I sometimes forget what it was like to be 11, 12, 13, 14. And we did all go through those times where it was the end of the world, we couldn't cope, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, and all those things. So I think if we can kind of go back to remembering how it is when you've got all these things, you know, testosterone and hormones running through you, you've had your first love, you've maybe finished with your first love and it's the end of the world. I think as we get older, we sometimes normalise this behaviour. You know, it's puppy love, it's not serious, all those sort of things. To a teenager or a young adult, it is serious. It is the be all and end all. So it's about talking to them about what they're feeling, what are they going through, because it's trying to see it through their eyes. It's not lessening the impact of it on them. It's allowing them to feel it and to be there for them and accept that that's what they're actually going through now. But again, it's those lines of communication. It's really important that you try and keep them open, even when the poo hits the fan with them. They might ask you lots of questions about responsibility. They might be stubborn. They might be argumentative. They might ask lots of questions about why and how. They might be challenging what the rules that you've got. I can remember one of my mum's favourite sayings was, do as I say and not as I do. And I can remember it being really unfair. She was telling me I couldn't have a snack before my tea, and yet she was sitting there eating a packet of crisps or something, and it's like, well, that's not fair. So there's lots of things about it being fair, and they will question, why can you do that and I can't do it? Those sort of things. So it's about being patient and trying to just see things from their point of view. I get that we're adults and there are certain things that we can do and they can't, but it's maybe about just understanding how unfair that might be to them. And then 16 is about identity and power. So again, it's that comparing themselves to others that they go through at an earlier stage. It might be at 16 they're sort of leaving school and going to college. It could be that they're finding a job. So it's all about, you know, just working out who they are. They might have a sudden change of style. They might go from having really short cropped hair and it all being nice and gelled at the front, or, you know, having it all straightened and wearing lots of makeup, to suddenly not wearing any makeup and not washing the hair or growing it. Or it's about finding out again who they are and just checking if the decisions that they made earlier on are the ones for them now, which again is about the recycling and filling in the gaps and maybe changing the way that they're thinking about things. We spoke as well about this part of things being about separating fantasy and reality. I think when they're at that sort of 15, 16, 17 age, they want magical solutions to everything. I want to do this and I should be able to do it. So what's the solution? I need to go on YouTube and start being a vlogger and make £1 million and then I can do it. And that's perfectly reasonable to them. It's that magical thinking that they're recreating from a much younger age. Between the ages of 16 and 19 as well, I think it's worth mentioning that it's possible that they will go through short periods of breaking rules and maybe breaking the law and testing out certain things. Again, it's quite a normal phase in that pushing boundaries, breaking rules, and what's good behaviour and what's not good behaviour, and they're going to test to find that out. I'm not saying that we should overlook certain rules and think it's just a phase. It's not. Again, it's about being consistent and steadfast. And once the lines of communication are open with your children, hopefully they're going to talk to you about these things. It's very difficult because the behaviour does swing from one to the other to actually notice if there has been a change in behaviour. If there's something going on for them at school or college that's making the behaviour change. So it's about being mindful of all those things as well. I'm making parenting sound really, really hard, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. So that's kind of took it up to the last part, which is when they're about 17, they're going to recycle the earlier stage that I was just talking about, which is skills and structure. They might start getting a bit awkward and clumsy around this phase, which is absolutely fine. Again, it's learning the skills that they need to be in the world, and about having that coherence and that structure around things. And then from that we go on to 18 years to death, and we're constantly recycling all 6 of the stages over and over again. And I think that the last thing that I wanted to say about this, One of the sayings that, again, my family used to use is that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I beg to differ. I think this theory just proves that we can rethink things, we can start to change behaviours, we can fill in missing gaps, we can learn to self-soothe. And I think the way that neuroscience is going at the moment, and the connection with psychotherapy and science, it's been proven now that we can change the way our brains work. We can change the structure of our brain by doing certain things. Mindfulness, for example, is huge at the moment. So there's lots of ways that in the future, as in our future, if you've got a child that's 14, 15 and going through issues, we can help them, we can change things. Sorry, I'm trying to read these. Hi, Jenny. And Shauna's just put, I so agree with you there. That's good. Somebody's agreeing with me. So there's lots of new things coming up with neuroscience and psychotherapy. And, we were separate at one point. It was the therapy side and the sort of medical sciencey side. And it's starting to come together now, which is brilliant. They can look at the way our brains were formed when we're younger and look at ways of changing it. So that we can start to rethink and maybe change parts of us that aren't working for us right now. So I wanted to leave it on a really positive note about ages and stages. Again, it's not a straight line, it's a cycle, it's like seasons, and we can sow new seeds, we can plant new plants, and we can watch them flourish. So that's it for now. I think Sari's going to do a sex talk at some point in the future. Yeah, Sari does that side of things. I'm hoping to watch that and learn lots from that, because my son's 11 now, and he's a bit obsessed with the opposite sex, let's say. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. So thanks for joining me. Comments, share, post away. This will be up in the group as well as on the page. So yeah, have a good week, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye.